Welcome to The Power of Pages, where we review books that ignite your mind,
elevate your life,
and drive your ambition. And this episode, we are reviewing, what's the book called?
That Will Never Work.
What year was Netflix founded?
I don't know.
You got three options.
Okay.
It's okay. You got three options. Don't panic.
Like every chapter, I'll be like, oh yeah, right, I'm gonna finish on this chapter. Then there's a cliffhanger on the end of that chapter, and I'm like, oh man, I want to see how this ends. You know what I'm saying?
Did you know, fun fact, did you know Netflix didn't start out as Netflix?
Yeah.
They had a different name to begin with.
Again, success is expensive. They had too much staff on, too much collateral, things like that. So they had to cut down their staff. They had to let a lot of people redundancies.
He'd rather have a smaller cut of a successful company than a larger cut of a company that doesn't get successful. I go by Ty.
I'm Mr. Fly.
And yeah, That Will Never Work, Marc Randolph. Forgot the book. I picked it as well.
Yes, that's your book. Yeah, exactly. That's never happened before, so.
Yeah, well, you know, the loyal viewers will know, innit? Yeah, so I picked it. I think you was going to ask me.
No, I wanted to know, like, was you aware of the Netflix story before this? Was that a kind of reason into why you chose this book? What was the reason behind it?
Yeah, I had no idea about the Netflix story prior to reading this book. My perception of Netflix was that someone come up with the idea to just put films and TV shows online, and they got this subscription basis, and now it's massive.
Did you know, right? Like, obviously, what was your introduction to Netflix?
That's a good question.
Better question. Sorry. Did you pay for Netflix?
My introduction was no, I didn't pay to Netflix.
Okay.
My flatmate at the time, he had Netflix,
he had it, okay.
And I used his account at the time. Yeah. So no,
I didn't pay. The reason I'm bringing it up, this isn't in the book here.
Yeah.
But part of their strategy, their sales strategy, obviously they knew what people were doing, right? Yeah. But part of their strategy was they knew people were sharing their codes, their access codes to it. But what it was doing was increasing their audience. Yeah. Because everyone's sharing Netflix. So we're talking about the same thing. I had Netflix for time. I never paid for it. You know what I'm saying? You know, like everyone's got one person in their family that had it, and they just shared their code. That was part of their sales strategy. Okay. So that's not in the book. But that was like, that allowed them to kind of get so much exposure that people become used to it, and then when they decided, all right, lock it off now. Yeah. Guess what happened? Everyone still buy it. Everyone starts paying now, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, man, that's just a fun fact, I guess. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah. And actually, to this day, I still don't pay for Netflix. But that's another story. Yeah. But yeah, nah. Netflix, you ain't got my money. Well, you got my money through the book. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I hope you didn't just admit to a crime on camera.
No crime. No crime out here. I don't use it, innit?
Yeah, okay, all right, cool. Clarification is important.
Clarification
is key.
But I guess, I mean, I wanted to read this book. I thought, you know, many people watch Netflix. Yeah. Lots of our viewers will be watching Netflix, and I thought it would be good to understand the story of it. And also, we're both entrepreneurs, we're both business owners, and just to understand their journey of becoming now $1 billion company, I thought would be quite interesting. Yeah. And what I really loved about the book, or really liked about the book, was the reminders of business and the fact that, you know, there's lots of benefits to starting a business and trying to build a business, but what I just said earlier was about someone had the idea to put it online and sell subscription. There's a whole journey into how it even got to that point. Yeah. And it's just a reminder that business is hard, man. There's a grind, you have to hustle. There's so many different nuances, there's different things. You might be going in this direction and you're swaying this direction. And Netflix today isn't what they initially set out to do. No. So it's like, sometimes you have to pivot and change. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, after reading this book, I felt inspired actually by the story of the book. So I guess that's my first impressions of the book. Yeah. What were yours?
No, you know what? It's funny, right? So I didn't know why you picked the book. I didn't know the Netflix story. Mine was similar to yours. I knew about the Blockbuster thing that we'll get into. So I knew about that prior to reading the book. and I kind of just similar. I just kind of thought that, it was just an idea. Someone said, internet, films online, put it together, mashed potatoes. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. But when I kind of got something different from this book that, I don't know, it resonated with me more so because yes, the hustle culture, but as I've got older, I've kind of I don't like the hustle culture, bro.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I think it's toxic, bro. Like, real talk. See, I had a phone call before. I know you must have heard a bit of the phone call. It's like, you don't have to, if something significant's happening in your life, whether that's a death or a birth or something, you can stop.
Yeah.
Like, you can stop. I don't care. And all these people that hustle, they're liars, bro. They're all lying. But the thing is, I've seen people where it's like, and I'm going to get back to why this is relevant for the book here. The lie that we're told is like, you've got to do this and do that and do this and do that. And there to a point, of course, you can do. We're both living proof of that, yeah? But in the book, the author, and this is Netflix out here, yeah? This ain't no, so whatever you're doing, the guy that set up Netflix done this. He made time for his family, regardless.
Yeah.
He made time for his wife, regardless. This is Netflix.
He made time for a hobby.
He made time for a hobby, regardless. So anytime anyone wants to come and say, but did you make Netflix? Okay, so the guy that makes, so it just kind of counterbalances that, and I quite like that. So I like that. I was like, that was eye-opener for me. I was like, look, I'm out here moaning, time, and I ain't got time, and no, you do have time. You do have time. So again, that's kind of like, that was another, as well as the grind, and we're going to get into that now, but there was also the counterbalance, like, there is time out there. Yeah. You have to prioritize things that are important. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's, and I've seen, like I said, with the hustle thing, this hustle culture thing, I think it can be toxic. So it's good to get messages like that kind of counterbalance it from someone that's truly successful, that's not trying to sell you a course on how to be this, that, and the third. So yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. And I think, the hustle culture can be toxic. Not to say that you don't need to work hard, you don't need to grind, because you do, but there is balance.
Yes.
You need to find that balance. Because it helps as well.
The harmony is more, I know Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, obviously he talks more, and I think that's more, because balance is not, not able to balance, but you can harmonise things and blend it,
Yeah. So let's touch on the author and how they got together, because the author had he was the vice president of a tech company, and
Marc Randolph,
and that tech company grew, and they were bought out by another company, and the CEO of that company was a guy called Read. I think
Read Hastings.
Read Hastings, and as part of that, Marc still had to stay working for the company, and Marc and Read travelled to go to work together in the same car. I actually don't know why they were car sharing, but maybe it just worked out. Maybe because they discussed stuff in the car journey. Anyway, in the car journey, they realised that current business was coming to an end. It was going to end in a few months. I can't remember if they was being bought out, or I can't remember exactly what. So they were discussing business ideas. Marc was the creative one coming up with business ideas in the car journey, and Read was what would you call him?
He'll just be the decision. Look. That's why the whole name of the book is like, that will never work.
Yeah.
So Marc would pitch it, and then Read would be like, that will never work. Okay. And then they would kind of discuss it. So, that kind of joint decision making to a degree.
Read was more like the level head, I would say.
Yeah.
Marc was the ideas. Yeah, let's try this. Can you remember any of the ideas that he come up with?
No, man. Wait. There was one. I'm gonna get it wrong. It was about surfboards.
Okay.
Or something like that, but I read the book.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
He come up with lots of ideas, and some maybe had some legs, but then, anyway. So they eventually came up with an idea about posting out videos to people so that they could watch videos rather than going to the store and picking the video. They post them out to people. But they realized posting a VHS video, that wouldn't work. That would never work. So then they got the idea, okay, maybe we could post DVDs out.
Can I just quickly pause you there to say how they kind of got to the idea? So Read challenged Marc to think of a reusable product that can be resold to the customer and easy to resell again and again. So that was the challenge that Read gave to Marc. And then the idea, now he goes into this with business ideas, is obviously when you're selling a product or selling your idea or vision, you want to make it as succinct as possible. So Read kind of has a kind of monologue that he has about how the business was made, but it's not necessarily, that's not exactly how it was made. But the idea for Netflix came on a car journey. Marc mentioned that he was tired because his 3-year-old woke him up to watch, because he had a bad dream, so they watched Aladdin to put him back to bed. And then when he woke up, so then Read remembered, after that story, Read remembered that he had a late fee on a video that he rented out from whichever Blockbuster or whichever video rentals company it was. So that was kind of what sparked the idea. So that's part of the story. Yeah. So the late fee, he's like, oh, I've got this late fee. Okay, how? And then it kind of, as conversation goes.
So they were continuously brainstorming, essentially. So just coming up with ideas all the time. But the first step was to get the DVD sent out and see if it would break, see how much it would cost, etc. So that was kind of the start of it. And then they met a guy, Mitch, who was a video store owner, and he was passionate about videos. People would come in and ask him what films to watch, and he would, like, his knowledge was crazy. So they kind of brought him on board.
But he was reluctant to join, I think, because he had his own business.
Yeah, he was reluctant. Yeah. But when things moved along, he was reluctant to join. And what I liked, sorry, I'm jumping around a bit, not too much, still kind of going in order, but they wanted to raise some money so that they could have capital to float. And I think I wanted to touch on realism here, because the fact that they were in a position to be able to get funding, and for example, Marc asked one of his friends for 25k.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't have many friends that would just have 25k
I'd ask
to
you.
put in.
You'd be the guy I'd ask.
I'd be the guy
that I'd ask.
I'd ask you. And you get a no, innit?
We move.
Yeah, say that again?
No, we move.
But yeah, he was lucky to have friends. Yeah. And I think even the guy that he asked was like, oh, I'm never going to see this money again. Yeah. But he had the money to do it.
And his mum, he did a kind of...
Yeah, and his mum, he asked his mum for money. So I guess I wanted to just touch on, like, part of it, he was lucky to be in those positions to be able to do that. And there's always an element of luck. Obviously, he'd built up his previous business before and built up his network and whatnot. But to ask his parents for, was it 100k he asked his mum? I can't remember the numbers, but, like, that's a...
Yeah, but I think you need to remember when this came out as well, this was definitely part of the kind of start-up, obviously around the .com era. Do you know what I mean? So there was a culture of this, because they did a lot of funding rounds and stuff like that. So yes, that was the initial seed round, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
But after that, as we'll see in the book, like there was a lot of rounds of funding. It took a long time to become profitable. To get to where they are now, it took a long time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So yeah, they were fortunate to utilize their network, but. You know, that's what they did.
He calls that chapter OPM, or part of it, Show Me the Money, he calls the chapter. OPM, which stands for Other People's Money. So I thought that was quite smart. He was investing. And in fact, I can't remember if he put in much money, but Read put in initially like £1 million. So Read was the money man, and Marc was the one making it happen. Read was just an investor initially anyway. So I thought that was quite smart, like the fact that he's using other people's money. If it goes wrong, he hasn't lost any money. He's obviously lost time and effort, but he hasn't lost any money, which can be seen. And actually, there's other points to it, just to touch on quickly. You're then also not emotionally tied to it as well. Like when you're using other people's money, you're not as emotionally tied.
I don't know. I think you might be more.
Do you?
You took money off your mum.
Yeah.
You've taken money off your friends. They've trusted you. Your reputational damage, X, Y, Z. So I think you're just as emotionally tied, if not more. Because you might be like, if it's something, if it's my money, well, boy, you know, money's money. Depending on actually, if it's my money, if I've invested something, and I've had businesses before, to be fair, where I put money into it and it hasn't worked, and we move on. But if my mum had to remortgage a house or had to get someone or that, you know, you might even be more, but it's down to the individual. But you might, I don't think it's a guarantee that just because it's other people's money. If it was the bank, that's another story. Because it's the bank, well, you know, you just dealt with it or whatnot. But if someone's trusting you, because you want to do your best for them. I think you'd work actually harder if someone loaned you that you care about.
Yeah, I think I would, but I think from a risk point of view, I would feel less risk.
Yeah.
I think I would work harder if it was other people's money.
But reputational risk is maybe even worse than financial. It's a debate. It's a good conversation. Do you know what I mean? But
before we go on, I've got a trivia question for you and the audience.
Okay.
Just one trivia question.
Cool.
Yeah?
Throwing curveballs,
I'm throwing curveballs. You didn't know this one.
Cool.
So I've got a question for you, audience, you viewers. But before I give you the question, we've just got a mailing list. Yes. So in the description box, we're getting you to join our mailing list. We're going to host an event later on this year. We've got some exciting ideas and plans. So if you want to find out what that is, join the mailing list. We can't communicate with you any other way. Yeah. So the link's in the description box. Sign up, and we'll see you later on the year for our event. But back to the trivia question. What year was Netflix founded?
I don't know.
You got 3 options. Okay. It's okay. You got 3 options. Don't panic. Was it founded in A, 1995, B, 1997, or C, 2004?
I feel like 2004 is a curveball, so I reckon it might actually be that, but I'm going to go 97.
Congratulations, well done. Yeah, correct. And listen, I think today you've got a 100% success record for your trivia questions.
Yeah. So let's stop there.
If you go back to our episode of Never Split the Difference, episode 48, I believe, he wasn't so successful with the trivia questions. So,
Joe,
well done.
I want my rematch, Joe. I want my rematch.
Next part of this.
No, I think as well, an important part about with the whole thing. So like, the DVD by Mel, he actually said in the book, the way they sent it, it was actually quite fluky that it went as quickly as it was because of where the center was or the depot. So it was quite random that it was lucky that it went that way, because if it had gone a different way, it would have taken too long, and they might have just said, no, it's taking too long.
Yeah.
So it was they found out later on that it was actually quite a fluke that it went to that shipping center.
Yeah.
And so that was quite cool. Another thing is, they had to refine their idea a lot.
Yes.
So he spoke to a lot of people, and this is something that I've seen a lot. And there's someone in my mind specifically that I know used to be very much a business, like, no, I'm not telling no one, you know. People have this idea that people are haters and they're going to steal their idea and all that kind of stuff. You're not that important. Do you know what I mean? So what he says here is telling people and talking about it actually helps him to refine the idea.
Yes.
Because you get other people's opinions, because me and you can very much come into an echo chamber where if we're just discussing something, we're just both like, oh yeah, and this will work, and that will do that. And we just, yeah. But we need to actually open it up to people that potentially will become customers. So I think that was quite important. There's a lot of you can tell that like Marc is real, like he's the real deal. Do you know what I mean? Because it's simple, basic stuff that is true. You know, talk about your idea of people, whether you're doing open events so people can kind of give you their feedback on it or whatnot. You know, talking to your potential customers, surveys, whatnot. It's quite important. Even people that are close to you as well. So that was something that I quite liked.
I like that as well. But I think just to touch on that, perhaps the average person, people think that other people are going to steal their idea, which. Listen, we've been in business a long time. We've had millions of ideas. It's not about the idea. And in fact, we've got a poster. Ideas are worthless without execution.
Facts.
So it's like you have to execute it right, and talking and learning from other people helps you to execute it right. And that's exactly what he did as he went on. So before we go on to the next bit, I want to touch on Netflix's name.
Yes.
Did you know, fun fact, did you know Netflix didn't start out as Netflix?
Yeah.
They had a different name to begin with. And before I give you the name, let me give you some of the names that they potentially were going to call themselves. So they had Take One, Take Two, Scene One, Scene Two, Flix.com, Fast Forward, Now Showing, Direct Picks, Video Picks, eFlix.com, Cinema Center, Webflix, Cinema Direct, and then Netflix. But prior to brainstorming and changing their name, they were called Kibble, which I don't know if it would be the same thing now because.
Do you know why? Do you remember why?
No. Good. You're gonna hit me.
Yeah. No. This is really smart what they did. So they knew that because they'd be so fatigued and tired by the end of the process, the naming thing. They knew that thinking of a name, if they chose a name that they didn't really mind, they would have mostly kept that name. But they don't love the name. They would have just kept it because it's like, oh, we've already got a name. Let's move it. So what they did was they called it kibble, which is dog food or cat food, because they knew that they're not going to roll with that name. Yeah. So basically what they're saying is when you're founding a company, found it in a name that you know you're not going to use. You know, call it a name that you hate, because then at least when it comes to time to pick a name, you will give it the time required because they couldn't come out of kibble.com. Yeah. Kibble and chill. You know what I'm saying? So it wouldn't have had the same ring to it. But that was like, when I read that, I thought, oh, okay, again, just very smart, very simple. Just pick a name, because, you know, we've been there where you kind of think of a business, the name, oh, we're already using that. We've already got the domain registered. Let's just roll with that. We've got other things to do. So choosing a name that you know you're not going to keep helps you prioritize the name. So yeah, that was quite interesting. Yeah, that was quite smart.
And yeah, anyway, they ended up with Netflix, which now he even says has some, you know, connotations, you know, like you said, Netflix and chill. Now, the idea initially was to send out DVDs to people. People would go onto their website and rent DVDs, and some of them could buy actually the DVDs as well. They rent them and then they send them back. And they launched on their first day. They got 100 orders in their first day, which was, you know, a great start. But their website crashed.
The servers crashed.
The servers crashed. And it was just like, like all these little problems that happen in business. It's like, yes, we got 100 orders, but now the servers have crashed. It's like, you're a firefighter. You're just firefighting problems. That's literally what he's doing throughout this whole journey, firefighting problems. And yeah, I guess I just wanted to touch on that.
It was like, because on that part, with the book, what I liked about Marc's writing style, you can tell he watches films because it felt like I'm watching a film, the way he described things. Like, I don't know, like every chapter, I'll be like, oh yeah, right, I'm going to finish on this chapter. Then there's a cliffhanger on the end of that chapter. And I'm like, oh man, I want to see how this ends. You know what I'm saying? So then I'll go on to the next one. So it's like, I thought to myself, this guy definitely loves movies, because it was done in that sense, like, you know, watch the next episode or what's happening next after. So I remember that scene, or the scene, see what I'm saying? Yeah. I remember that chapter, and he said, yeah, the servers crashed and they had to go out and buy new servers whilst they were running and trying to get up running and whatnot. But again, it's like, before reading this, I never would have thought of Netflix as like a startup. Yeah. Like, these are startup issues, these are growing pains that you go through that I would have never attributed to Netflix, but lo and behold, they went through these sort of things.
Yeah. I want to touch on a bold move that they made. Yeah. Because they pivoted, they changed. Yeah. And in there, they made $94,000 revenue in the second month. 93,000 of that revenue was from sales, and 1,000 was from rental. Yep. And they decided to pivot to a strictly just rental business only. The sales side of the business was making 99% of the money, or 98% or whatever, but
3% came from rentals.
3%.
Only 3% of the income came from rentals.
So, and they wanted to focus on the side that wasn't doing that well. And I loved that because I thought that was such a bold move. Yeah. Because these were the times when Amazon was just coming out. They were selling books online, and they knew that Amazon could wipe them out, wipe out their online sales, you know, over a few months. But they knew the rental side over the long period could be more profitable.
Yeah, that was big. That was big. I think, like, yeah, when I read that, I thought the same thing. It was quite inspiring. I was like, wow, this is a big move, man. 97% of your income is coming from making sales. But again, that's what being a true leader is, being a true visionary is. Do you know what I mean? And also sticking to the plan. Yeah. So they knew rentals was what they came into the game for. Sales was like something they bolted onto it. But then they wanted to, because again, they kind of mentioned it was a bit confusing to their customer base. Yeah. And they wanted to kind of refine their customer base, or just, no, we only want people that want to rent from us. Yeah. And I think, it was bold, man. But they knew, because they had met with Amazon prior. Yes. So I guess this was around saying Amazon wasn't what it is today. Yeah. But Amazon was bigger than them.
But they were potentially going to acquire them. Yeah. Buy them out after just 2 months of launching. for a low 8 figures, so 14 to 16 million. So, but Read was a money man at the time. That wasn't enough for him to like sail into the sunset. So they met with Amazon, and yeah, they didn't want to take that deal.
Yeah.
But again, I guess this goes back to networking. Obviously, Amazon and Jeff Bezos. In fact, they met with Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos wasn't the guy he is now back then, but just having those connections.
Yeah, but again, is it Silicon Valley? They're all, like, they're all connected. There's a culture, yeah, they're all, because remember, as much as like venture capitalists, right?
Yeah.
So there's a group of people that are looking with money that want to invest in startups. That's what their job is to find. So as much as, you know, they're in the hotspot for that. I mean, that's even like where they decided to set up their head office.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't actually, I think it wasn't in Silicon Valley to start off with.
No, it was just outside.
Just outside, whatnot. So again, and as well, the time frame when this was, it was definitely around that. You know, there's a lot of money around. Yeah. There's a lot of people, you know, networking, trying to build up business, trying to do the next. They knew that you know, another thing which we haven't really said is like, when they originally started this idea of doing DVDs by mail, they met with someone and he was like, yeah, but you could just do this online. But they were like, yeah, technology's not there yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So even having that foresight, so they kind of always knew that Netflix's current iteration of what it is now, they knew they were going there, but at the time, the internet speed wasn't enough and whatever else technical jargon you want to use. So again, they was in the culture. So it's not, so for me, I mean, look how much money they raised. We weren't profitable for such a long time.
Yeah.
So it's like, but people know, like with other things, you know, we've come into like investing and stuff like that, they want to put their money and invest and get it now because they can see where it's going to go to. And that's another reason why they had that foresight, hence why they decided to stop doing the sales.
Yeah. So, yeah, they stopped doing the sales. So yeah. But they pivoted again with the online sales, not the sales, sorry, the rentals.
Yeah.
So now they're going strictly rental, but they decided to change their model.
Yeah.
But actually, before we come on to that, what did you think of 2 cents for Bill Clinton?
That was jokes.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, that was funny. Go on.
No, yeah. So there's a chapter called 2 cents for Bill Clinton, and some of you may know or may not know, Bill Clinton testified in front of a jury about his affair with Monica Lewinsky. Did you see any of that footage or?
In real life? Yeah, I remember it.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen it, but
I'm older than you.
Yeah, true.
I thought I'd say it first. But
yeah, good save. But anyway, so they videotaped it, and Netflix decided, let's offer it for 2 cents. Yeah. So it was a marketing ploy to build up their subscriber base and build up their customer base. So they videotaped it, they put it on a DVD, and they were renting it out. Now, the guy Mitch, who we mentioned earlier, who came on board with the team, mixed up, when he worked in Netflix for some reason, he was working, I'm just thinking how I should tell this story, the big reveal at the end.
Yeah.
We'll come back to Mitch after.
Yeah.
Anyway, he sent out the videos, the DVDs, he was the one organised to put it on the DVDs and get them sent out.
Yeah.
So imagine you just got this DVD from Netflix, and you put it on ready to see the Bill Clinton testify, and then it's he sent out the wrong footage on the DVDs because he used to like do some kind of work within the adult industry, or he knew them, or something along those lines. But he was partly involved in the adult industry.
It was an adult movie, yeah.
And what I found funny was like Netflix apologized to everyone that they sent out that got the wrong DVD, and they were like, "Oh, just send back the DVD, and we'll send you the other one, innit?" No one sent back the DVD.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that was, and again, that's like the storytelling is great, man. Like, so whether he had help on telling it, but he definitely told it like a movie, because that was one chapter I was like, wow, what happened next? What happened? I mean, I was laughing.
Yeah.
When I read it, I was cracking up laughing. So yeah, that was funny. Yeah,
this book did make me laugh throughout, man.
They should make a film. I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure they will. They should make a film about it. I'd watch it. Let's
touch on the power of these pages.
Okay.
Because it's not like an informational book. It's a story book about Netflix.
But there is valuable nuggets in there.
Yeah, there is valuable nuggets. So I'm interested to see your power of these pages.
Okay. The power of the pages, I've got like 2. But then also, before I answer that, I think there's a part of a policy that they talk about with Read and him, when Read kind of brutal honesty.
Yes.
Because there was a time, and I'll talk about power pages in a minute, but I just want to get this in.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going so well. Netflix wasn't going so well. They were doing okay, but they weren't doing great. So Read and Marc, bearing in mind that they kind of been business partners for so long, and Marc was the CEO, he was the main guy, and Read was just a money man at that time. Now, Read had to make a decision where, I think the chapter's called I'm Losing Faith in You.
Yeah.
And basically, Read sat Marc down and said, I'm losing faith in you. I don't think you're up to the job.
He gave him what they called a poo sandwich.
Yeah, a poo sandwich, yeah, exactly. So, so he gave him a compliment and then told him what he wants to change, and then filled up with, that's what you call like a poo sandwich in a nutshell. So anyway, I think that was really, again, that was very bold from Read, because I was thinking to myself, wow, imagine if I set up a business with my friend or someone that we had a really tight relationship with, and they told me they're losing faith in me. And then, but even to top that up, Marc obviously took that on board, and then he realized that he agreed with Read. He's like, yeah, you know what, maybe I'm not as good as a CEO. Maybe I'm better as I can't remember what his title was, president? Was it president?
Yeah, something like that.
So he was a president. And then he realized that having Read on board, because people were talking about raising money, they still had to raise a lot of money. You know, they were burning money. He calls it like the pressure of success. Because you're successful now, you've got all this payroll, you've got all these things to pay out for, you've got to kind of keep making that money. So it was like seeing Read from one bring that to him and say, look, I'm losing faith in you. I don't think you're up to it. This is what I want to do to solve this problem. One. And then for Marc to take that and check his ego and be like, well, you know what? I think he's actually right. And that to not affect their friendship and not to affect their relationship and not to affect the business. You know, and we're talking about millions of pounds here. People fall out over thousands, if not hundreds of thousands.
Over pounds.
Over pounds, yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that for me, I was like, wow, he must have really had to check his ego. And he went, linking into my power of the pages, Marc went and spoke to his wife about just, the offer that Read had made and whatnot. And his wife gave him some guidance on that. Which I think, again, is important, talking about your things and talking about what. So going back to the power of the pages, there's 2 I've got. But one was just the fact that Marc managed to maintain his date nights with his wife. I think it was Thursdays or at 5 or whenever it was. He make sure he maintained that. He also makes sure that he still had that relationship with his kids, which I think was, again, this is Netflix. So I don't want to hear it from anybody, because this is Netflix. This is Netflix. That says enough, yeah? So I think that was quite important, and it kind of even shone a light on me, and I thought, you know what, there's obviously, you have to find that balance, that harmony, that work in motion with your family life and your business life. But that was definitely powerful. Then another bit, obviously speaking about leadership, and I had a conversation with another CEO of another charity about this, literally it came up in conversation, and it was, as a leader, your job is to tell your team where to go, not how to get there. Give them clear coordinates and let them figure it out. And again, that's empowering for the people you work with. It shows you trust them. There's somebody a friend of mine, he gave me a phrase of, because that's kind of what I do anyway, but I've now kind of leaned into that a lot more. And it's a good way to lead. If you trust someone, because if you kind of micromanaging them all the time, you're kind of saying to them, I don't trust you. But if you're saying, look, this is what we want to do. We want to achieve this goal. What do you think? And then we collaborate and we talk about it. And you say this and I say that, and then we do that and we go for it and then we find our way. I mean, we kind of work that way quite organically anyway. But I think when you're kind of as a leader, as the front of an organization or the head of a family or the siblings or whatever it might be, a parent, your job is to kind of just say like, well, this is the destination. What do you think is the best route to get there? So just to be succinct, that's one power page. The other one is making time for things and people that are important.
Yeah. Wow. They're powerful, man.
Yeah, it's hard. It's deep, man. It's real.
Powerful.
It's real.
I'm going to give 2 as well then, because I'm going to give 2. And I loved the way he checked his ego in that moment. Yeah. I love that, man, because like you said, to be told, I don't think you're up to it in this particular area. You've got great skills here, and here, but in this particular area, it would be better if I come on. He basically telling me, look, I'm coming to take your job. Yeah. That's what he's saying. Yeah. And he had to overcome that. So I think...
As well, sorry, do you remember as well, there was the money. there was about the shares.
Yes,
there was a financial implication as well, which I was like, whoa.
Yes.
Again, I just remember now.
So share.
Yeah, the shares. No, I can't remember. Share. So I can't remember specifically, but I remember basically something to do with money, and it was millions. Do you know what I mean? So I think it was to do with amount of shares that he owned.
Yeah.
As in Read.
So let me clarify. So as part of Read coming in and moving to CEO, and Marc now losing that title, it meant that he was going to lose a certain amount of shares. Read was going to take those shares, or like something like that. It just meant that Marc's cut of the pie was now smaller than what it was before.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, you know, Marc was like, well, he'd rather have a smaller cut of a successful company than a larger cut of a company that doesn't get successful. So he was smart enough and humble enough to be like, do you know what? This is the best decision for the business. It's the best decision for us as a friendship and partnership, and it's the best decision for me.
He consulted his wife as well. Don't sleep on that. Like, that's it. Whether it's your wife, you got counsel. You got counsel from some other people. Do you know what I mean? Sorry.
So he talked. So to touch on that, the power of it was the ego check, man. Control your ego. Check your ego. If someone's telling you stuff, you know, perhaps you need to listen. You know, you might not necessarily agree with it, but consult with someone, consult with people. Check your ego, man. And I like that. And the other power for me was the ability to pivot. Yeah. Because life throws life at you, man. Life can be hard.
Yeah, I like that one.
So
life throws life
at you, man. And sometimes you might want to go straight, but you have to go left, and then left again, and then right before you get back to the journey. Sometimes you have to take a zigzag, and you might not want to go, or you might not go the path that you initially set. You might just have to pivot, and they pivot a lot in this book.
But you pivot a lot in business, right?
You pivot a lot in business, but I think in life as well, pivot. So I want to go straight on to the pivot that they had to make, because the DVD sales, rentals, were not working. People were not renting them as they wanted them to. So they decided to say that people could rent 4 or 5 at one time. So it meant that what they found was when they went to, like, people wanted to watch videos there and then. They didn't want to, like, order it and then the video come and they watch it, like,
so the example they gave was like, they don't want to plan, on Saturday we're going to watch X film of Avatar. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They want to have a selection of videos that they could be like, oh yeah, let's just watch this today.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of renting one, they were like, okay, for $19.99 a month, you could have 5 DVDs on rotation. So you just send one back, and then whatever's next on your list, we'll send you that next one. So they always had 5 DVDs because they could. So yeah, they always had 5 DVDs. That was part of the subscription plan. Yeah. So where it went from failing, people, you know, getting one, it was now successful. People were signing up quickly, and it was like
that saved them.
Yeah, that saved them from that pivot.
Yeah.
And that was sick, man. That was sick.
No, it was good because I think as well there was a few ideas. Again, checking egos and being smart and being collaborative. They had a few different ideas of how to solve this issue that they had. That right, because he puts here like success is expensive. You know, it's expensive because they had all these outgoings, obviously warehouses and all this kind of stuff. So they had a few ideas, but that was the one. So they just said, you know what, let's just put it all out and just see which one sticks, basically. And that was the one that stuck. And like we said, it saved their business. Yeah. And as well, what it meant was, I think it brought down their costs as well, because they didn't have to, where they had so many DVDs going out, they wouldn't hold on to a DVD for long. It comes in, it goes out. It comes in, it goes out. So then they went from having maybe massive warehouses and stockpiling to having maybe one small warehouse where things came in and came out.
Yeah, in different locations.
In different locations,
yeah. So they had one initially, they found it was taking long, so they got different locations across
smaller ones.
There were just like fulfillment centers, rather than going back to the warehouse and then sending them back to the customer. It's like, say, we'll use England for example, say I'm in Manchester and you're also in Manchester. I rent the same DVD, you've got it on your list. I just send it to the fulfillment center and it goes to you straight away. Rather than coming back to London, it's like, let's just keep it in Manchester. So it's like, it was very smart how
they had a lot of DVDs in rotation. So that means it's never in base, so they never had to hold on to it for that long.
Yeah, man. Listen, there's so much other things that we can talk about in this book, man.
I think, you know as well, which is, they spoke about, I mean, they had to, it'll be interesting to get the point of view of, because they had to let quite a lot of people go at one point.
Let's touch on that quickly.
Yeah. So that was, you know, again, success is expensive. They were kind of, they had too much staff on, too much collateral, things like that. So they had to cut down their staff. They had to let a lot of people redundancies.
In order to become profitable, they realised that they had to make cost cuts, and that had to come in the form of staff.
Yeah, they had to get 1 million subscribers.
Yes.
That was the number. So they had to hit 1 million subscribers. So they had to make some hard decisions, basically. And then some of that, they had to let go of a lot of staff. And it was, you know, I've never been in that situation. Actually, no, I've been made redundant, but not for somewhere that, like, these people really loved and they bought into the vision and all that kind of stuff. So that must have been quite hard for them.
It must have been quite hard. And what I loved about this section, even as, you know, not nice people being made redundant, one of the employees who got made redundant. So imagine you've got made redundant. He's gone over to Marc, who's still got his job. He's still got his business. He went over to him and said, oh, Marc, like, I just want to check on you. Like, is everything okay? Like, I know that must be tough. And they said, you know, like, kick Blockbuster's butt or something like that, because Blockbuster didn't buy them or didn't want to work with them.
We've got to talk about that.
We don't have time.
Blockbusters could have bought them for 50 million. They said no. There we go. We got it. We done it.
We don't have time, man.
We done it. That's it.
That's it. Yeah, there's more we could touch on this book, man.
Blockbusters, you fumbled the bag big time. Well, they're not even here anymore. So
Are there not a couple stores? They're completely gone?
I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway,
who knows?
Irrelevant.
Rah. I feel like that was a episode, man. We're just talking. One more before we come on to Star and Difficulty, just a couple quotes. The book's called That Will Never Work.
Yeah.
Don't let other people's doubts stop you.
Facts.
Just because someone says that will never work, doesn't mean it won't. The second one I want to talk about is everyone who has ever had a shower has had an idea, but not many take action from it. And that's what Marc says. Boom. Star rating and difficulty rating.
Let me drop one in quickly.
Go on.
I'm not going to say the whole thing, but in the epilogue, Marc talks a lot about his dad.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say nothing more than that, but his dad was a big inspiration in his life and why he achieved what he did achieve and whatnot. So his dad's got his rules for success. If you read the book, read the epilogue and you'll see them. Yeah,
okay. So difficulty rating.
You can start.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah. My book, difficulty rating. No, I didn't find this difficult. It was quite a smooth read. Chapters were relatively short from what I remember. 1.5. I'm going half numbers.
Okay.
1.5.
For me, the difficulty, 1. It was easy, man. It was it was easy to read. Once I picked it up, I didn't really put it down as much.
Yeah.
I kind of was like, I'm going to read a chapter a day. Sometimes I read like 2-3 chapters. I was like, oh man, I've got to go to sleep now.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But these cliffhangers kept me on, you know what I mean? So kind of like Netflix, isn't it? That's what they do, to be fair. Like, you
binge watch it.
So 1.
I wanted to read chapters after chapters. And let's go on to the star rating.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to touch on what I didn't like about the book.
Okay.
Because I felt in some parts he was quite descriptive, like unnecessarily descriptive.
Yeah.
So, for example, I can think of a specific example. He was like, Hunter is his son. He was like, like I made Hunter breakfast. He had Cheerios with milk and egg and toast. And then it was kind of like, okay, I don't need to know about Hunter's breakfast. Like, what's the relevance to that, to the story? All right, you're telling us a bit of... So there were some parts about that, which maybe he just wanted to get his children in. Obviously, he loves his children. And I was like, okay, it took it a little bit away from the book for me. It's like, just tell me about Netflix, man. But I enjoyed it, man. I really did enjoy it. And I was toying again with two half numbers. But I'm going to go in 4. Yeah. This was a good book. I'd recommend it. It was interesting. It was a fun read. It was an easy enough read. I liked it, man. I liked it. 4.
Yeah, 4. For me, I'm giving it a 4 as well.
Okay.
Very good book. Very good story. And the fact that, like I said, it was like a series. It was just interesting, and the story is quite inspirational. And I think, to be fair, it inspired my choice for the next. I think you must have clicked onto that. Like, so the book we're gonna read next month was because of this. I thought, yeah, you know what, I want to read more stories like this from like founders. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what I want to do this year. So yeah, definitely a 4. I didn't like the same things that you didn't like about. Sometimes like you're just waffling right now. Yeah. Didn't really make like. What's the point of this? Yeah. Kind of switched off a little bit. If it wasn't for those, I maybe would have given it a 5. But definitely, it's a strong 4 as well. Yeah. Okay. Can I just say, previously we haven't agreed quite on a few episodes. But we've agreed. Yeah. Like I think we've agreed. So yeah, big up. We agree on this one. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Good selection. Wicked. Selection. Right. Next episode, we are reviewing It Takes a Tribe by Will Dean. He's the Tough Mudder founder. Similar to you, what you just said. Tough Mudder is obviously not as big as Netflix, but it is known. Still very big. Yeah, so this is our next book. Join us on our 1 book a month journey. The link's in the description to all books to buy and to read. And remember, sign up to the mailing list. The link's in the description box also. But remember, this is the power of pages. And we review books.